Hello, my beautiful, gorgeous dance baby, and welcome to another episode of More Than Dance. Today, we are talking about stage presence and how you can have more of it. So, we're going to talk about facials, we're going to talk about who to look for in your audience, we're going to talk about how to keep yourself going even when you feel nervous or if you forget. So, let's take you to an experience of mine where I was in the audience and I was experiencing a dancer having the worst stage presence I've ever experienced. I couldn't believe it because the vibes of the place that we were at were so fun. The music was pumping and the costumes were cool, and the dancer was looking so miserable. Like her face was just plain. There was no interaction with the audience. It was like, all right, like if you don't want to be here, like you should maybe pack up early and go home. And it dawns on me that this is something that even great dancers get to work on. And what I think I would have told that dancer in that moment was, hey, face, hey, don't forget, this is for fun. Do this for fun. Enjoy yourself, interact. And I think what I was noticing was that there wasn't any fun. And sometimes when you're performing, especially if you have a long run of performance, sometimes it can be hard to keep up with that endurance. And I'm here to tell you the sick, hard truth: get another job. If you are a performer and you aren't able to withstand the endurance that it takes to be on stage and give life to your audience, it might not be the profession for you. And it might not be something that you can sustain, because what I was feeling in that moment as an audience member was, oof, I gotta go. And I'm sure that's exactly what the dancer was feeling. And I want to go into some strategies, because the other side of this is maybe they weren't experiencing those feelings of I got to go home. Maybe they were just struggling because they didn't know how to rely on their performance skills. So we're going to play in that zone for the rest of this episode as if that person really did want to be there and they just didn't know how to hone in on their performance skills. And I have some mega tips for you today. So the first is the kind of energy that you would have if you were a hostess. So pretend that, and I heard this from somewhere, pretend that you are hosting the best party, like you are hosting a Gatsby party, and you wrote special invitations to every one of your guests, and every one of your guests is an audience member in that moment. And you want them all to have a good time, and you want to have a really good time. Now, I've been to some really fun parties as a guest. I've hosted some really fun parties, and I've DJ'd some really fun parties. So I know what it feels like to be at a party where you feel very welcome, happy, and excited to be there. And actually, one that I most recently DJ'd, oh my gosh, it was just such a cool party. It was within the neighborhood of a town in, I think, Yarmouth. And oh my gosh, life was just brought to me just by being there. And I was the DJ bringing energy, and they were bringing it right back to me. And we talk about this a lot in terms of the exchange between the dancer or the performer and the audience members. There is a reciprocation of energy. And at the studio, when we discuss showcase and we prepare our students for showcase, one of the biggest things I mention is it's like a ping pong game. And we are giving energy as dancers, and we are giving life and light as performers. And the audience is receiving it and is saying, whoa, I love that. Give me more. And then once we see that they want more, we give more. And then they're like, oh my God, I love it. Do it again. And then we're like, oh my gosh, they like that. Let's do it again. And it's this amazing reciprocation of energy. And it's kind of like, in my head, a ping pong game of audience participation and performer interaction. So the performers on stage, they're like the hosts of the party, and the audience members are the guests. And when you think about a well-executed party, you think about, okay, well, there's food, there's great sound, there's people I really want to see at the party, there's high vibration, there's energy that I look forward to, there's really cool ambiance, maybe there's a great view, and basically I really want to be there. So when you're on stage, you're hosting this amazing party. You're making sure all your guests are happy. You're looking out into the audience and you're seeing each one of the people that you invited, and you're making sure that they're okay, that they're happy, that they're pleased, that they don't need a refill of their drink, or that they know where the bathroom is, or maybe there's someone at the party that you want to connect them with. So it's being a host on stage and knowing that no one in the audience knows each other, but somehow connecting the whole entire energy of the room by your performance. And it's looking at people directly, and it's also looking at everyone. It's smiling when the performance calls for a smile, and it's also feeling a real emotion and learning and knowing how to get to that place realistically so that when you do smile, it's authentic and it feels real for the person who's on the other end. So great performers can do this because great performers can move you to have emotions. And they do that by showcasing real feelings that they share through their face, through their body language, and through, in our case as dancers, through the mood of the music and our act. I mean, it's a big act if it's real and we're connected to it. And also, I can tell you plenty of times where I've performed contemporary and have been so happy and so excited to perform and showing this kind of face before my performance. And then within an instant, I can be more heartfelt and I can completely change the way that I am because I'm so involved with my performance. So in a way, it is like a big act. And in another way, it's very real. So it's kind of hard to decipher the two. And quite honestly, I don't think you really have to. I think a great performer is just a performer, and that's what they're doing. And it becomes real when they do it. It becomes real once it starts. And I think about the times that I've seen like really good performers. Like there's this guy that Josh and I ran into in Salem maybe like 5 years ago, and he's a street performer. Shout out to Snap Boogie. And he is just so good at luring the audience in. I mean, within an instant, he could have just a gigantic crowd of people surrounding him, excited about what he was going to do. I've seen some really great street performers, but they have like a pack of like 5 people. This guy did it purely on his own. He was able to captivate people, lure them in, get them to stop where they were going and stay with him on the side of a street in the hot, hot sun with sound that was like kind of all right because it's portable sound. And at that time, I know that it wasn't as good as it is now. And we stayed because we were so intrigued and we were so excited to see what was he going to do next? How is this going to play out? And that's really the kind of question we want to bring to our audience member. We want to get them so curious so they can say, I got to see the end of this. I got to watch the end of this. I need to know how it ends. I need to know. It's kind of like in Friends when the episode would say to be continued and you'd be like, oh my God, I have to wait till next week. So we as performers, we lure in our audience, we get them excited, and then we get them to feel involved. So in this street performer example, he let you know that he was going to bring in volunteers. So there was excitement behind that, because if you aren't the type of person that wants to be called on, you still want to know like who is going to go in. And if you are the type of person that likes to be called on, you're like, oh my God, they called on me. And then he does just like crazy things that like he does this running like somersault over this gigantic line of people, and he like hops over them and does a flip in the air and lands. And it's like, one, you kind of like just don't believe that he's going to be able to do it. And then 2, it's like that looking away and looking at it like, oh, is he going to do it? Is he going to do it? And then the people are just sitting there and you know that if it goes wrong, it's just going to go really wrong. And if it goes right, it's just the most amazing thing in the world. So you stay as an audience member to see how it turns out. And there's things that we do like as choreographers to make our choreography interesting, to make someone want to stay. Some of that is to do with the levels. We'll change levels. As soon as you think it's getting predictable, we'll switch it and it will be not what you predicted at all. As soon as you get used to the song change. As soon as we have a moment where the sound is shocking, we'll do something extra shocking that will match it, that you'll be like, whoa, I can't believe that sound went and they just did that. Or we'll utilize silence, and it'll be completely silent within the song, and then we'll stop and we'll hold your attention just by how still we can be. And there's various different ways. And part of that is knowing your skills as a dancer. So if you know that you have really great facials, then you get to utilize those in your performance. You can find someone in the audience and you can make your face for just that person. So it's kind of like in that moment, you zoom in, you give them the face, and then you zoom right back out again and you give it to everybody. I always find that to be really fun, is finding this anchor person in the audience where you get to just find them, love on them, zoom out, and then give it back to everybody else. And they know that they're like a special person in the audience. And we know that they're a special person in the audience. I remember now what I was going to say about street performing is that it's very unpredictable. And like it could go any way because you have more people involved. And so when you're performing, you have this idea of like, oh, we're going to do the performance the way that we practiced it and the way that we rehearsed it. And it's going to be like this. And when you get on stage, there's things that happen that are very unpredictable, like potentially the music cuts out, or potentially the lights change, or potentially the floor of the stage is kind of like weird. These are all true stories. And you just get to act on your improv skills and react to what's happening in the best way that you can. Well, in a street performance, it's very shocking because they go off of the vibes. It's kind of like comedians because they understand if they're going to involve the crowd and they're going to ask a question, that answer can come out anyway, and they got to be ready for it. And they got to be ready for the response to bring them back into either A, the skit that they were just talking about, or a future skit that they're about to do. So it really allows us to relinquish any thoughts of perfection. We get so rooted in this idea of perfection because we're drilling it a certain way, especially like when you're cleaning a routine and you're in that phase of the polishing, you're like, okay, it has to be like this. It has to be like this. And then it's almost like you clean it up so good. And then on stage, whatever happens, happens. And you let it be and you let it go. And as much as you rehearsed is what you rehearsed, and whatever comes out is what comes out. And 9 times out of 10, it's amazing. And no one would really understand the small percentages of imperfection that are in the live routine versus like what it was supposed to be, or it was supposed to look like this. And that's what makes it so cool, is no one knows. And that's what makes it so easy, if you're very skilled in your performance, to have a mistake and to move through it because no one knows. So we talk a lot about the get the F there moment at the studio, and that can happen on stage. And the way that you can be so skilled at getting to that position can be something so cool. Like you can impress the dancers that you're dancing with, like, whoa, I saw what you did there. Like that was awesome. Or just the way that you handle yourself on stage is seen. And going back to this little story that I told you of this dancer who looked so miserable, had she honed in on her audience, had she zoomed in, given a face, and then zoomed back out, it would have improved her performance by more than 70%. There was a gaze. This is another thing. So there's this gaze that can happen when you're performing where you're like looking outwards, but really you're looking backwards, and it kind of just looks like you're in a fog. So that's why direct eye contact is really important. Direct eye contact, looking past someone's face even and to someone else, is really good. Or if you can find their eyeballs, do it. If you have trouble locating your face muscles, it might be time to do some drills in the mirror. Now, I know you probably know this story, but Jim Carrey, when he was practicing for a lot of his roles, he would stand in front of the mirror for hours upon hours, and he would just practice all of his different faces, perfecting them and making them better and making them so within his muscle memory that it was very easy to make any type of face. So some of the phrases that we use at the studio to get you to make a face is, oh my gosh, what did you do last night? And it kind of gives you this like kind of sassy-ish face. Or, whoa, you have a secret, don't you? And that gives you another face. Or, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to see you. That's another great one. That's more of like a smiley one. Or, oh, I'm so hurt. I'm so sad. And it's kind of going into like a little bit of acting. And that's great because when we are performing, we are acting. We are becoming the role. One of the biggest things with stage presence is thinking about your light beam. So your light beam is here, and allowing it to shine forward and out as opposed to forward and down. So if you ever look at a stage that's like a stadium kind of seating where the seats go up versus all the seats are down, that's a great way to envision all of your stages, because the stage energy needs to project out and up, as opposed to if you're on a stage where the people are down, it's like down. Hello, people. So you want it to project out and behind the people's heads. We talked about why stage presence is so important for the audience. We talked about why it's important for the performers, because once they're getting that reciprocation of the energy, they actually have better performances. And then there's also something else we can talk about, and it's how having great stage presence can help you have a better life. And it's because when you step into an interview or you step into a situation that you don't really know, you can use those skills and you can find your way with your stage presence. So, for example, let's say it's my first day at a new office and I'm trying to find my path, find my way at this new place. I might use my stage presence to show a couple things. I could say, "Hi, I'm new. I'm open. I really want to learn." It can say, "Hi, I'm new. I'm assertive. So definitely don't F with me." What we don't want to say is, "Hi, I'm new and I really don't know if I want to be here." So when you're thinking about your intentions, and it could be if you're going on a date, think about that. Stepping into your date and you want to show this stage presence when you come in. What it does is it shows the best of you. And sometimes the best of you doesn't get seen right away. And it's because maybe you're nervous, maybe you're still questioning the experience. I know, like, when I used to go on dates before I met Josh, like, I'd be like, okay, I wonder what this one's going to be like. So you could be experiencing that, and always go in like you're on stage and like they get to experience your energy. And it's the gift that you get to give. And if they're worthy, they'll return it right back. So here's a fun little exercise that I want you to do. And it's because stage presence isn't something that you're born with. It's something that you get to practice. It's a skill that we learn and that we can improve upon. So 2 things. First, I want you to think about a scenario where you'd love to have great stage presence. Maybe you are working on getting behind camera for your new business. Maybe you want to go live and you want to be able to do that with ease. Maybe you are going on stage and you're performing. Maybe you do have an interview coming up. I want you to think of something and I want you to visualize that experience with stage presence and just kind of write down some things and some adjectives that might be what you'll feel if you were to execute really great stage presence. And then the second thing is find a full-length mirror, and I want you to just practice with your face and with your light beam. So think about what it looks like when you're walking into a room with your light beam shining out and up versus when it's shining down and forward. And then I want you to think about how you can engage your posturing to be lifted and to be suggestive of, "Hi, watch this. Watch what I'm going to do. I'm important here. Watch me." Because as performers, that's what we're saying. We're saying, "Hey, watch me. I've got something to show you. Hey, watch me. I'm going to entertain you." So get ready to step onto your stage, wherever it might be, whatever it looks like, and learn how to let people really feel your energy. And when you do practice this in real life, I want you to notice how people will respond differently. Watch how they pay attention a little bit more. Watch how they lean in to hear what you're saying. Watch how when you chime in on a conversation, they're ready to listen versus ready to talk over you. So I really hope this helps with you. And if it did help, it would mean the world to me if you left a 5-star written review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on the dance floor.